And that's the true definition of success. Like everybody, like, what is success? And you always think, well, okay, is winning the Mr. Olympia success when it comes to bodybuilding, or is just building your body better than it was before? Like that's really what success is.
Yeah.
It's how far you go is kind of irrelevant. It's the fact that you're moving in the right direction.
Welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast with Lee Hayward and Jeff Samataro. Since 1997, Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding has been online helping guys to build muscle, lose fat, and become the best version of themselves. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with real-world practical fitness and nutrition advice to look your best, improve your health, and feel confident in your own skin so you can live life to the fullest without having your body holding you back from doing the things you want to do. So if you're ready to get started, let's jump into the show.
Welcome to the second episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast. I almost feel guilty at this stage of the game, like trying to think, hey, our weekly episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast, but we're episode 2, Jeff.
Hey, we're on a roll.
We're on a roll, right? The hardest part is just getting started, and we're getting started, and we're going to keep this going. It kind of relates to a workout program and a fitness routine in a sense. Like the hardest part is just building that momentum, getting the foot in the door, right? Showing up to the gym. That's what we're doing right now. We're showing up and we're just trying to build that habit. Hopefully after several episodes, like after we've been doing this for a month or more and we got a bunch of episodes in the bank, we can call ourselves podcasters. But for now, we're doing
aspiring podcasters.
Aspiring podcasters.
Yes.
So one of the topics that I want to discuss today is the fear of success. And this is something that we don't hear a lot of. Like a lot of times hear people talk about the fear of failure. And a lot of times I think we can spin that into the fear of success. And I just want to ask, can you relate to this, or have you heard of this concept before?
Yeah, I've heard of this before. Yeah, for sure. You know, being successful and like what that takes in terms of like a lifestyle change and how that's going to change your relationships and your routines and everything and how you're viewed by other people, and are certainly a very real topic to discuss today.
That's one of the things I want to do in these podcasts is really get into the like under the hood, not just scratching the surface with, okay, here's the best workout split. You know, here's your sets and reps. Here's your calories. Here's your macros. Because that's not what's really holding people back from achieving success. Now, don't get me wrong. That's important. You have to have a good workout and a good eating plan and all that kind of stuff, the tactics, if you will. But I really want to get into the mindset, the inner game, what's going on underneath that surface layer stuff, because I think that's what's holding people back. Because nowadays, especially with the internet and YouTube and fitness influencers, like there's no shortage of tactics. If I want a workout program, I go in Google, chest workout, back workout, leg workout, boom, I got instant workouts. What's my calories? I can go in Google search and I can get a calorie calculator. I can type in my age, my height, my weight, and blah, blah, blah. And it'll spit out a number. It may or may not be accurate, but hey, it's a place to start. You know, I mean, like there's no shortage of tactics. That's what I'm getting at. And I don't, not knowing what to do is what's holding people back. I think it's more deeper than that. And one of the things is all these mental blocks. And I think one big mental block is actually the fear of success. This is kind of a weird thing for me because I started as a very early age, you know, when I was younger. Like I started working out when I was 12. So I didn't really have, I guess, the society norms that a lot of people do who wait till they're later, right? So, I mean, I started off, and of course, when you're young and you try something new, most friends and family are going to be very supportive of encouraging you. Hey, go for it, right? Like thankfully, that's the way it was for me. I had a very supportive family who encouraged me to work out, especially my dad. He created our home gym in the basement and we worked out together. So we had that foundation. But I know it's not like that for a lot of people. Like, what was it like for you? Were you an athlete growing up and all that? Like,
no, no, not at all an athlete. No, I mean, I did like what most kids do. I played hockey when I was a kid, played baseball and all those things. But like, I was never a competitive person and was never really into team sports or anything like that. And, you know, they used to put me in left field in baseball because that's where the ball never got hit to. So, you know, I'd just be in left field. And like, I remember my mom telling me, like, she'd look out into left field and I would be sitting Indian style on the grass, like picking the grass and everything with my glove off. Because I just, you know, had no ambition of like being an athlete or really caring about it at all. So that was my athletic background. Yeah, my mom so my parents are very active. Like my dad's run the Boston Marathon 13 times.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. My mom's she's been a runner her whole life, and they were very active growing up. They used to go to the gym all the time. My dad had a home gym in our childhood home in a basement. He used to have buddies from work over, and they would come over and they'd work out down there. So in my head, like I always had it that like it was like, okay, one day I'm gonna work out and be active and be in shape because this is just what like adults do. Adults get in shape and adults are active and everything. But like now I'm a kid, so I'm just gonna like play computer games and just enjoy that. Yeah, so no, I didn't have any kind of athletic background or anything like that. So when I did get into my 20s there, like that sedentary lifestyle had kind of caught up to me quite a bit, all through college and stuff like that. I didn't really do anything consistently. Go play like some recreational basketball every now and then, or go like do like some ultimate frisbee stuff every now and then, which is a lot of running. But it wasn't until I got into my 30s where I was like, okay, I got to start doing something now because I don't feel as good as I used to feel. It's starting to catch up to me a little bit. I'm starting to slow down a little bit. I'm starting not to feel good. I'm starting to get aches and pains, chronic tightness and soreness all over my body just from just living life. So I knew that I was like, okay, if I'm going to start feeling better, if I'm not going to let age get the better of me, and I'm going to have to be more proactive with my life. And that's where I decided to make the change.
I appreciate you for sharing that. Like in your situation, you had active parents, which a lot of people nowadays don't. We see it more and more. And that's one of my main motivations at this stage of the game is I want to be that fit, healthy, active parent. Right.
Yeah.
We just had Mother's Day this past Sunday, right? So, I mean, we had a family get together out at my mother-in-law's house. Harvey was there. One of his cousins was there. But the kids were out in the garden playing. Like it was a beautiful sunny afternoon and they were out in the garden playing. And I was out running around with them. Like I went out in the garden and played with the kids and we had a lot of fun, just, kicking the soccer ball around, like having races and exploring through the trails. Like my mother-in-law, she lives in a rural area. So we were out in the woods and running through the trails and stuff like that and run home for dinner. And then after dinner, we went out and played again. And I was the only adult out with the kids. And I remember when I first went outside, Harvey's cousin, she looked at me and she said, "What are you here for?" Because first of all, like, am I in trouble? Like, there's an adult coming out in the garden here. Like, what's wrong, right?
Yeah.
I'm here to play. I said, kick the ball to me, right? Let's play soccer. Let's run through the trails. Let's have a race, whatever. And like, she was just like, cool. I didn't think adults did that, right?
Yeah.
I loved it.
Oh yeah, I love that genuine reaction that kids have when you do jump in or something like that. Like, oh, an adult wants to play with me. How cool is this?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Right?
totally.
So that's my main motivation. And of course, I know a lot of parents, like a lot of the guys that I coach personally, they're in that stage now. They're parents, they're family men, some of them are grandparents as well. And to be able to spend quality time with their kids and their grandkids, like that's what life's about versus sitting at home, watching from the sidelines, wishing you could do it, but physically can't. I mean, that's a hard way to be. And I want to delay that for as long as possible. So that's why I'm out there keeping myself fit and active. And then when I can, taking advantage of it and out playing with the kids as well. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, I had a ball doing that.
Yeah.
Again, we know that that's not the case for a lot of people. And a lot of times, getting back to the whole topic, like this fear of, or I don't even know if fear is the right word, but mental blocks to success. That's probably a better way to put it, Nick. It's having this mental block of, I can't do it. And then if I do it, what am I going to have to change? Like, this is some real conversations that I've had with coaching students is they're thinking, well, what are my friends going to think? What are my family going to think? Like, what about my social circle? Like, hey, I've got friends that I go out drinking with every weekend. We play cards, we go drinking, we play pool, we play darts, we do whatever. What if I'm the health guy and I can't do that anymore?
Yeah.
That's a pressure. I mean, you as a musician, I'm sure you've been around the social scene, the nightclub scene and all that. Like, have you dealt with that yourself in your own transformation?
Oh yeah, totally. I believe that the hardest part about getting into shape really is like the changing who you are, like fundamentally as a person.
Mhm.
That's a really hard thing to do. Like working out and doing an hour workout a day. It's really not that hard once you start doing it consistently over time. Like you start to just get used to the discomfort of working out and like the strain and everything, and actually you start to look forward to it in a way, and it really doesn't become an issue. And then diet, I mean, diet obviously brings its own struggles in there as well. I think the hardest part is changing who you are, like, because you really do, you don't just change like your body, you change who you are as a person in order to achieve serious goals like that. And it takes a really committed person, a really focused person, somebody with a really long-term vision, the ability to see and invest your time wisely and commit to that for over the courses of years, right? Where you start to see the benefit of doing it. When I was out of shape and everything, I know I used to partake in all the all the debauchery, if you will, right? But as I've grown older, I've just it's not that I don't participate in debauchery every now and then. It's just that I don't do it as often as I used to do it, and it's fine. I don't miss it because I my life has improved so much since I started making these changes that it motivates me to continue to do it. And I see the value in it now, and I'm living it. So when you start living it, you start appreciating it more and realizing the importance of it. It is different, and some of my relationships are different, and some of my connections with people are different, and my weekends certainly look a lot different than they used to. It's all good. It's all good stuff. It's all making me a better, more fulfilled human being. So I'm here for it.
And it's interesting, like this is 5 years into your fitness journey, if you will, like made this shift. So I know in the early phases that was a challenge, and like it's almost like the crabs in the bucket mentality. Like when someone tries to succeed, and then you have your family and your friends. I mean, it's a weird dynamic, because at first, if someone says, hey, I want to join the gym, I want to work out, I want to lose weight, I want to get in shape, you might get that initial, hey, good for you, go for it, yeah, way to go, that initial positive reaction. But if you
Right.
start following through and you're making it a reality, now it's almost like your social circle is almost, hey, what do you think, you're better than us? And you're making that disconnect, because now if you're getting better, you're getting leaner, you're getting fitter, and then it's like, well, it makes me feel worse. Whereas, hey, I liked you better when you were fat, because at least I didn't feel uncomfortable about me being fat.
Yeah.
So there's that disconnect, and it's almost like the crabs in the bucket. And I can even remember when I was younger and out to the nightclub scenes and all that stuff, people would always be pressuring you, hey, have a drink, have a this, have a slice of pizza, have some, you only live once, come on. And they're doing it, and they want you to do it as well, so they enjoy it. And if I said, no, I don't want that, like, no, I don't want a drink, or no, I don't want the pizza, it's like, well, what's wrong with you? Like, you think you're better than us? Now, no, nobody would probably say this verbally, but it's kind of like that subconscious vibe that's going on, and it's
Oh yeah.
trying to pull you down.
Yeah, it's a very real thing. Like you're going to experience people trying to sabotage your progress as you're moving forward, especially once you start making visible and noticeable progress. People will see it and they'll be like, and then you start getting comments from people like, oh, you don't do this anymore, or oh, you're not that guy anymore. And then you have some people who are like, oh, well, you might lose some weight or anything like that, but you'll always have that chubby face. I remember that was somebody actually said that to me one time. They were like, they said, oh yeah, you might lose a couple pounds or anything like that, but you'll always have that chubby little face. And I was just looked at them and I was just like, it's like you're putting limits on me. You're telling me what I can and I cannot do. And those kinds of things, they just motivate me to keep moving forward. You don't want to take your advice from somebody who has never done it themselves. You want to surround yourself with people who are doing what it is that you want to do. And if you're more goal driven and less driven by the opinions of other people, especially opinions of other people who aren't actively doing what it is that you want to do, then you'll be successful because you have those horse blinders on. You're just moving forward and you're like, I'm going to just drown out all the noise and just keep moving in the direction I want to move in. And then you can look back years down the line and you can say to yourself, hey, despite all of the criticism, despite all of the negative feedback I was getting and all the self-limiting beliefs that I imposed on myself, I kept moving forward and I reached my goal, and look at me now. And there's no more fulfilling feeling in the world, in my opinion, than reaching the goals, the long-term goals that you set out for yourself.
I love that. Yeah. Isn't it ironic how people who are not exercising, who've never actually gotten in shape themselves, are always full of feedback and opinions and advice on diet and exercise?
Yeah. It's because they've
I-
never done it themselves, right? So to
I-
them, it's like this astronomical, monumental thing to achieve.
but they have their opinions. They always have this. I remember back when I started lifting weights, when I was in my teenage years, a lot of my relatives and people who were senior to me, would say, well, you want to be careful with that because you build that muscle. Guess what? As soon as you stop working out, it's all going to turn to fat. And I'm
What?
that's what everyone would say. Like, hey, if you start building muscle now, right, as soon as you stop when you get older, it's all going to turn to fat. And I was thinking to myself, well, you're not working out and you're fat.
Yeah, right.
You've never built any muscle to turn to fat. Like, what's your excuse?
Yeah.
It's just interesting how people would throw these things out there. They're always full of opinions and giving me advice on something that they have zero experience with. Like,
You don't want to take fitness advice from somebody who is fat and out of shape. You don't want to take, financial advice from somebody who's broke poor. Like, before you accept advice, consider the source.
absolutely. I mean, getting back to that whole thing, a lot of times when people want to achieve their goals, like whatever it is, they want to build muscle, lose fat, get in shape, they look at their circumstances and say, well, I can't do it because the most common one is I don't have time. See, I can't work out because I don't have time to work out. And when someone says they don't have time to do it, that's code for I don't want to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you want to do something, you're going to make time for it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's inevitable. I mean, think of everything that somebody does do. You're just as busy, but somehow we find time to watch Netflix or scroll through social media. You have time to go out with your friends and go drinking on the weekends or go to social events. You make time for that because you want to, right? You make time for your job. You make time for it. Your health and fitness has to be at that priority as well. Try and take the things that you're using as your excuse why you can't do something and turn it into a reason why you have to do it. Right? Take like, for example, like some people will say, this is one I hear a lot in my family. Well, I can't do it because I got health problems, right? I have heart problems or breathing problems, or I got arthritis, or I got back pain, or I got bad knees, or that's the more reason to actually start exercising and taking care of your health and fitness versus doing nothing and then letting that get worse. Because the old adage, if you don't use it, you lose it. And that especially applies for people who have pre-existing health issues. Have you any experience with that? Like the whole not using it and losing it?
Oh, yeah. So like what I was saying at the beginning where I was experiencing chronic soreness and stuff. I used to have chronic tightness and soreness in my upper back and my upper traps here and in the back of my neck. And it used to be something that I just learned to live with because I had it literally every day of my life. And the part of that was because when I was younger, I used to have forward head posture. So my head would kind of drift out in front of me a little bit, just, standing, sitting, whatever. So I used to have this every single day, and I just kind of like learned to live with it. And then once I started working out and actually focused on strengthening the muscles on my upper back and on my neck and my shoulders and everything by doing pulling exercises, then all of a sudden now I haven't experienced that in years now. Once I start doing strength training exercises for those areas, then all of a sudden everything gets better. Before, when I wasn't training the muscles of my upper back, when I wasn't strengthening the muscles of my upper back, then it was sore all the time because I wasn't using those muscles, right? Once I started focusing on that, using it more on a daily basis, then that pain, everything started to alleviate. I think if I just would have kept going, right, and just been like, oh, I can't do anything with my upper back or my lower back or my hip flex or whatever because it's in pain, then that's when people start looking for, other types of remedies, like, oh, I got to go to the doctor who's going to prescribe me a pill. And now all I got to do is take this pill, and then all that pain goes away. And then you become dependent on the pill, right? You need the pill all the time instead of if I just would have used it, if I just would have like adjusted my lifestyle a little bit and started strength training a little bit, then all of a sudden I could have took care of it myself and not have these medical expenses and this dependency on prescription medication. So taking action should be the very first step. What can you do on your own to take action on a daily basis to improve your situation?
Yeah, for sure. And we hear that a lot. I actually was having some conversations last week with some people who talking about their workouts or lack thereof. People saying the reason that they can't work out is because, I've got a bad back, I've got bad knees, I've got arthritis. And we should say that that's the reason why you should work out, not the reason why you can't work out. Obviously, you're going to have to start at a small level. I mean, if somebody's got bad knees or a bad back or problems, no, they're not going to go in and start like, hey, let's start squatting 315, guys. Right. No, maybe he's going to go for a walk. Maybe we're going to go to the gym and just go through the motions with the machines. Actually, there was a lady that I was working with in person at our local gym, and she had a big mental block. She was afraid to work out because she had some back issues, had some previous injuries, and she was just afraid to work out. Mm-hmm. And afraid of the gym, afraid of lifting weights, and just thinking that it's going to be too bad, too painful. I'm going to cause more damage. And another one of my coaching students that I was working with was also an elderly lady at the time, working out with her. And she said, "Oh, Lee's great. He'll help you." And I don't want to be a bodybuilder. I don't want to be lifting heavy weights. No, trust him. So finally she bit the bullet and she tried it. And after her first workout, she's like, "Wow, that wasn't that bad. That actually felt good." Just building that momentum. And the biggest thing, I think, wasn't only the physical, it was the mental relief of, I thought this was going to be so painful. Like, you think that no pain, no gain, I'm going to be lifting heavy weights and straining and, hurting myself. No, we literally went through the motions with just a simple machine workout, and then just build on it week by week, a little better. Hey, let's add an extra 5 pounds here, right? You think you can do that? Yeah. Okay. Let's do an extra repetition. Let's do an extra set, and just build on it week by week by week.
Yeah.
Amazing how it just can accumulate and compound, with this progressive overload. Mm-hmm.
And that's going to keep you coming back week in and week out too, is when you experience the feeling of completing a workout and you're like, okay, I feel amazing. That was great. And then all of a sudden now that makes you want to come and do it again and again and again, because you see the benefits that daily exercise brings. But I want to address another thing that you mentioned there. So you said, I don't want to work with Lee because I don't want to be a bodybuilder and I don't want to do this. It's like, I've experienced that too. And I'm sure you have too. It's like people will say, I don't want to work out because I don't want to look like a bodybuilder, or I don't want to be big and bulky like a bodybuilder. That's a very common thing that I hear from women who are looking to get into working out. I don't want to be big and bulky. And my response to that is always, trust me, you're not going to end up looking like a bodybuilder on accident. You're not just going to wake up one day, look at the mirror and say, oh my God, I look like an IFBB pro bodybuilder.
Where did that happen?
Yeah. When did that happen? Oh, I don't want to be this big. It's like anybody who gets to that level everything is so intentional and meticulous.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with getting into shape, and it's a plan that you set out for yourself. It's a destination that you work towards over the long term, right? But you don't have to worry about getting too big. Like it's not going to happen, right? You're just going to end up being a leaner, better, with more visible muscle definition version of what you already look like.
Yeah, I just want to share on this. Like, from a practical point of view, I've never ever met anybody who quit because they made too much progress. They progressed so fast that they said, "Oh, I got to quit." But I've seen the opposite. Progress didn't happen fast enough, and they get frustrated and quit. But I've never seen it where like, "Oh, I accidentally got too big." And
that's a realization that I think anybody who gets serious into working out is eventually going to have. Is like eventually you're going to be confronted with your physical limitations and your genetics, and just like what you're capable of being. As you get down the line, there's going to be some type of a reality check probably where you're like, okay, this is what I look like. I'm going to be maybe a slightly bigger version of what I look like currently, but I'm not going to be this giant jacked up meathead looking bodybuilder, right? Just on accident.
And I just want to share some examples of guys who've actually gone through our program. Can you see this? Is that coming up on your screen? I'm going to.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
This is Richard. He's gone through our program. when he started off, he was over 400 pounds. Now he
Mm.
came on board, like started working with me a couple of years ago, and now he's in the 240-pound range. I mean, he went through some challenges. I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but I'll just say, like, there was issues with food, obviously. There was issues with alcohol. He had cancer, right? He's a cancer survivor. He had knee problems, back problems. I mean, all kinds. I mean, carrying 400 plus pounds, you had a lot of joint pain to go along with it. At his worst, I remember him telling me, like, he couldn't even walk across his house. That's how bad it was. Like, he had chairs and benches strategically set up across the house. So he'd get up from his bed, walk out into the hall, have to sit down and take a rest for a few minutes. Once he had enough strength, then he'd walk as far as the kitchen and then sit down and rest again. Like, he just couldn't walk freely across the house. And he was walking with canes and with a walker and everything else to just physically move. He ended up having to get both knees replaced. And I mean, it's just crazy to see how bad he was. I mean, he was in a really rough shape, but he didn't give up. And that's the thing. Like, I'm just, regardless of how bad it is, progress is always possible if you're willing to do the work. And I have a ton of respect for this guy because he did the work. I mean, it just step by step. I mean, I remember when we started off, his workouts was just simply like, hey, let's just try and walk for 5 minutes. Like, that was day one. Let's just try and walk, and then he had some simple exercises at home, like resistance bands and some dumbbells and things. And he would just do some simple exercises at home. And now he's at the gym. Like, he goes to the gym 5 days a week. He's out walking. In fact, he recently bought a bicycle, right? He got one of those big fat tire bicycles. He seen my pictures of me riding my fat bike and he said, I want one of those. He said, I want a big bike like that. So he went out and got himself a bike, and now he goes for bike rides. And regularly, he's up to doing 10,000 steps a day, plus going to the gym. And he's out in his yard, like mowing the grass, doing gardening and stuff like that. Like, he's physically able to live life and do the things that he wants to do, climb up and down stairs. Like, it's amazing to see that he went from not even being able to walk across the house unassisted to now walking unassisted and basically living life without his body really holding him back. I mean, sure, he'd like to still lose some weight and be leaner and trimmer and all that. Like, I mean, he still has a bit of loose skin and a bit of excess body fat, but it's not holding him back. He's able to live life. People see him at the gym and they're like, man, like, it's amazing how well you can move, because they remember seeing him when he first started. Like, he could hardly move. He could hardly do anything.
Yeah.
Like, he can get under a barbell and do squats now with knee replacements. But the fact that he can do them, right? That's impressive.
Sure. And this is just his progress up until now. Like, now that he has the habits in place, imagine what it's going to look like even further down the line.
His ultimate goal is he wants to crack under 200 pounds. And I'm quite positive that he's going to do it. I mean, he went from 400 plus to like in the 250 range. There we go. 240, 250 range. I'm sure he can trim off another 40, 50 pounds, as time goes on. Now, it's going to be slower. Like, the leaner you get, the more weight you lose, the slower the progress happens, because that initial weight, a lot of it's just water and bloat and everything else. Like, someone who's 400 pounds, if they just clean up their eating habits and start exercising a bit, like, they could quickly drop 30 pounds in the first month, just from all that sheer weight and bloat and all that. But now he's actually burning pure body fat. So to burn pure body fat is a slower process than just that initial detox, if you will. It's just getting the crap out of the system, literally.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's slower. And that's something we're working on. Like, because he's come to the realization, hey, this is a slow process. Like, I'm not going to just drop it rapidly like it did initially, but he's showing up. And the thing that he's focusing on more is not so much the scale, but on his strength, his performance. And like, he loves to share within our group of like, hey, I was out in the garden today. Hey, I went for a bike ride today. Hey, I did 10,000 steps today. Or, I was up and down the ladder, like, he's stuff like that. Just regular day-to-day stuff that for someone who's obese, like 400 pounds obese, you can't do that. You can't go up and down the stairs and up and down a ladder or ride a bicycle. But now he can. And he's in his 60s, right? Like, so it's not like he's a young guy. I mean, he's in his 60s and doing this. So it just goes to show that age, previous health challenges, it can be a limiting factor if you let it, like all the reasons he could use for an excuse. He could say like, well, I can't do this because I'm obese. I can't do this because I got bad knees. I can't do this because he ended up developing cancer. Well, I have cancer. I can't exercise. I got cancer. All these reasons why he could use as an excuse to not do it. He turned them around and said, this is why I have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like all those excuses, like I have to do this. And now he's in his 60s and he's in better shape now than he was probably in the last 20 plus years.
Yeah. There's always going to be an excuse why to not do something, right?
Mhm.
It's like there's never going to be the perfect time for you to start and to take action. And Richard's clearly a living testament of taking action and moving forward and improving his life and taking ownership of that. And his results are amazing. That's incredible. That
It
kind
is.
of transformation. I mean, the quality of life that he must be experiencing just must be complete night and day.
Mhm.
So totally, that's incredible.
It is. I mean, it's mind-boggling to see. And quite honestly, if I was in that similar situation, like if I were to 400 plus pounds with all those health issues, I don't know if I would even have the strength to turn it around.
Yeah.
You know, so I have a lot of respect for him because if there was a rock bottom, like he was there, he turned it around. And I just want to share that because I know a lot of people who are nowhere near as bad as condition as he was are using it as an excuse of why they can't do it. Like, oh, I can't do it because, and the thing is if you use that excuse, eventually you will get to that stage or worse.
It takes a refocusing of your priorities. Like, what do you think is important? And in Richard's case, it's maybe a few scary moments in there, right? Where, you know, his literally his life was in jeopardy. I mean, that was what had him take a 180 and go into the opposite direction, right? You don't want to let yourself get to that point where, you know, it's something scary like that that's going to force you to make a change and focusing on your health and fitness, right? You want to be proactive. And, you know, you want to make that change because the further you go down the rabbit hole, the harder it is to turn around.
It is.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of people have to hit that rock bottom before they see the light. Just want to share another example of someone we both know is a regular of our coaching group. This is Paul Miller. I've done an interview with Paul, and he's been featured on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. Paul had a heart attack at 62. Right. And before then, he was not active. Like, I mean, he was the complete opposite. Paul's a teacher, and he really prided himself on his intellect, and he's very active with his church. So like he was the bookworm, he was the church going boy. There was this disconnect, you know, there was the jocks, and then there was the, you know, the smart kids, the bookworms, whatever. And he was part of the, you know, the smart kids, if you will. And he totally despised anybody who was into sports or athletics. And he fully admits this in our interview that we did. Yes, he loved his work as a teacher. He loved teaching and he loved that. But internally, he was slowly committing suicide. And he wasn't committing suicide through drugs and alcohol, but he was committing suicide through lack of exercise, through comfort food, and, you know, work all day and come home to a bucket of greasy Kentucky Fried Chicken or donuts and pizzas and burgers and fries and whatever comfort food he wanted. Like he would just, that was his thing. He'd work and then just binge. And then of course it caught up with him. 62, he had a heart attack, was rushed to the hospital. And when they revived him, thankfully they did, the ER doctor grabbed him by the wrist, and he says that they looked him straight in the eye and said, the universe has given you a gift. You've been given a second chance at life. What are you going to do with it? And he said that burned to his soul. And after that, he said, that was it. He said, okay, this is God talking to me, if you will. I have to make a change. And he turned things around from there. And now he's an advocate of health and fitness. Not only has he achieved an amazing transformation himself, but now he's teaching what he's learned and sharing his experience, his story with people at his local church. And he has a group that he calls Fitness with Friends. He created this over a year ago now. And every Monday, it's a group of seniors. They meet at his local church. And he basically does like a workshop / workout with the seniors, teaching them how to improve their exercise, how to improve their eating habits, how to improve the lifestyle habits. Like he goes through this with the Fitness with Friends group. And now he's an advocate of living this healthy lifestyle. And it's just so inspiring to see. But he had to hit rock bottom, right? That's the sad thing. He had to hit rock bottom first. One of the things I know Paul always shares is like if you can kind of foresee the future, like see the direction you're headed in now, where's that going to lead you, and make the change before you hit the rock bottom.
Yeah.
Right. Like imagine if he had to turn things around in his 40s versus waiting until his 60s. He would have enjoyed a much better quality of life. Now, granted, hey, at least he's enjoying it now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's nothing you can do. You can't go back in time and change what already has happened. All you can do is change your current situation and plan for a better future situation. And the fact that he's paying it forward and doing
Yeah.
those classes at his church and everything like that, that's super inspirational too. So hopefully he can help inspire others and keep others from falling down the same trap that he fell into. So super, super inspirational, and big props to Paul for making the change and making changes in positive changes in other people's lives. That's real world results right there. That's like what it's all about right there. Yeah, we often glamorize like the physiques and everything like that, and look at this guy, he turned into this muscle and fitness type of model. But when you see guys like Richard and you see guys like Paul, it's like that's real world examples of how positive making a change like this can be for your life.
That's what real fitness, like that's what I refer to as total fitness bodybuilding. Like bodybuilding in and of itself, like the competition side,
Yep.
that can be positive in a way if you do it in a healthy way and you're using it as a tool to push yourself and see what you're capable of. But that's not where the quality of life is, in getting on stage in a pair of posing trunks, oiled up and dieted down. And yeah, it might look cool to some people. Some people think it looks ridiculous, but to some people it looks cool and they want to achieve it. And I did it for 15 years, right? I did it as a competitive bodybuilder. But knowing what I know now, like bodybuilding is so much more than that. It's not bodybuilding as in competition. It's building your body. It's total fitness bodybuilding. That's where I came up with that whole term. And thinking of examples again, like Paul and Richard, they're living a total fitness bodybuilding lifestyle because now they're at a stage where their body is not holding them back from doing what they want to do. They can take care of themselves, whereas just a few years ago they couldn't. Like when Richard couldn't even walk across the house, without sitting down and taking a rest. Could he go get his own groceries? Could he go mow his own grass? Could he shovel his own snow? He couldn't do jack shit. It was just a big lump. I mean, I'm saying this with love and respect here, but when he was 400 plus pounds and unable to do anything, like he was just a big lump and people had to tend on him. So he went from being the man of the house, the breadwinner, to just this big burden on the family. And everybody's, oh, we got to take care of dad, got to take care of him, right? Because he can't do anything for himself. We got to do everything for him. Now he's able to not only take care of himself, but he's able to contribute and help out other people. Same with Paul. He's able to contribute and now help out other people. And that's what this is all about. It's quality of life, not just six-pack abs.
Yeah. Imagine all the life experiences that you're going to have, that you're going to experience, like by being in shape, by your physical body, the vessel in which you explore the world, right? By keeping that in tip-top shape, the more things you'll be able to see, experience, like the more you'll be able to get out of your traveling, like when you actually go places, being able to have the energy to walk all day and to explore and go on hikes and do all that kind of stuff. Like that's the real change. That's the real benefit of this whole stuff. Like not just how big your biceps are going to get, right? But how much of life that you're going to get to experience due to making this kind of change.
This also brings up another point now that I want to address, and another one of our coaching students experienced this recently. And Mike Brown, Mike, he's part of our VIP group.
Iron Mike Brown.
Iron Mike, we call him that. I mean, he's made an incredible transformation. He was a school teacher, did that for years, and in his 40s became a lawyer. Switched careers at 40, went back to university, got his law degree, and then became a lawyer and did that until he retired. Because he felt a passion for law. Like, I mean, we actually did an interview and he shared this story about how it was, but that was his passion. He wanted to become a lawyer. So, I mean, he's a school teacher and a lawyer. And with that career, very busy, long hours. I mean, there was no fitness, no working out, no nutrition. There was a lot of alcohol consumption, a lot of junk food consumption, a lot of not healthy lifestyle choices in that. But at 56, he said that's it. He wanted to turn around. And this is his transformation, right? I mean, and just share it in 2021, he was trying the ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, lost a lot of weight, but he also lost a lot of muscle. In 2022, this is when, from 21 to 22, that's when he started working with me, and we focused on let's start feeding the body instead of starving it, right? Like
Mhm.
you're starving yourself with ketogenic. In fact, he went carnivore, even the extreme version of keto and intermittent fasting. And I said, you got to start feeding the body. Let's fuel it on the cellular level. Let's actually have a well-balanced diet, increase your carbohydrates, increase your meal frequency. Let's start feeding that muscle, not starving it. And by having more fuel in the system, more quality fuel, you're going to be able to train harder and build muscle. And that's exactly what happened through 2022 and then 2023. And now I got to get some updated pictures here, but in 2024, I mean, Mike is still pushing it. He's in his best shape ever, and he's actually getting ready to do a masters bodybuilding competition this year. And
That's awesome.
the reason he's doing a bodybuilding competition is not because he thinks, okay, I'm going to be a pro bodybuilder or anything like that. It's just a personal goal to see, like, how far can I take this? I've come
Mhm.
this far. Let's just go for it. I want to stand on stage and see how I do against other guys in their 60s.
Yeah.
So, and he's made an amazing transformation. But the thing that I wanted to share here is he posted this on a Facebook group that we're part of, and someone was commenting, said, "Oh, it's great that you made this transformation, in your 50s and now in your 60s, but it's sad that you waited so long, right? It's sad that you wasted all those years. Like, what if you had to start working out in your 20s? Like, where would you be now?" And I just want to share that, like, because a lot of people have that mindset, like it's too late. Like, what's the point? I'm so old now; it's too late. I missed the boat, right? That's the common thing.
Yeah.
And I've seen the opposite happen. Where I started working out younger, like I started at 12, competed in bodybuilding through my teens, 20s, and 30s. A lot of the guys that I competed with back then, they hit their peak, like in their 20s, let's say, got
Mhm.
their best shape, contest shredded, and then they kind of live off that high. And then as they get older and get busy and life catches up with them, they kind of let themselves go, and they like lose hope in that, well, I know I'm never going to be as good as I once was. What's the point of even trying? And then they just spiral downhill, even though intellectually they know what it takes. They've done it before. But now you see them in their 40s or 50s, and like they're not going to the gym. They're eating like crap. They don't even look like they lifted a weight in their life. But they can pull up pictures of them back, and hey, here I was at 26, shredded, six-pack abs on stage. But now here I am at 46, and
Yeah.
dad bod and the gut sticking out further than my chest, and the gym is the last thing on my mind.
Mhm.
And that's sad to me.
I'd rather do it the other way. I'd rather do what Mike did if I was going to choose, because you want your later years to be enjoyable too, right? Like you're in your 20s, you could do jack shit and you could still be in and still feel pretty good because you just have you're in your 20s, you have youth on your side. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. When you're in your 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, and like it's like that's where it's the most important to take care of your body and to be
Mhm.
proactive and to keep building muscle and building that routine and keeping your strength. So disagree wholeheartedly with that first thing about Mike. Oh, it's a shame that you waited this long. First of all, if anyone ever said that to me, I'd go tell them to jump off a bridge. The what the shit is that? I hate that kind of stuff. It makes me so angry when people like do that. It's like I know you feel good about this, but let me knock you down a notch. It's like, come on, dude. Right? Like what Mike has done is absolutely incredible, and obviously he's somebody who's not afraid of making changes in his life and being proactive.
Mhm.
To make a career change in your 40s takes a huge amount of courage, especially when you have a family to support. To make a change like that is incredible. And then to be in his later years and being like, you know what, I want to do a bodybuilding competition. We could all learn something from Mike about how you're never too old to do what you want to do and to have the courage to put yourself out there and to make a giant lifestyle change. It goes beyond just getting into shape. Mike's a example and an inspiration for just how to live your life, how to not set limitations on yourself, and how to keep moving forward despite your previous experiences or how old you are. So kudos to Mike and the other guy, shame on him.
I agree with you. I mean, that's the reason I wanted to bring this up. Most people do the complete opposite. they get in their peak, like I mentioned, in their 20s or their 30s, whatever. And then as they get older, you could almost reverse these pictures. Like that's the transformation they make. So by the time they're in their 60s, they're like, oh, life sucks. And now I'm too old to do anything. And then they make all the excuses. And it's just this downhill spiral. Whereas Mike is getting better with age, like a fine wine here, right? Getting better with age is exciting.
Totally. I mean, look at him. Look at him. He's 59 years old in that 2023 picture. He looks better than most guys in their 20s. Like,
and he's even better than that now. Like I got pictures there. I'll post them in the podcast replay there. But like he's 60 now, 2024, and like he's in peak shape. Like he's actually leaner and more muscular now, and he's brought up some weak body parts since that 2023 photo.
Yeah.
So he's getting better. And it's exciting. Like that. How cool is that to be getting better in your later years? So now he's able to live life and enjoy it. And I mean, he's got grandkids now. I mean, what kind of example is he setting for his grandkids? Like they're not seeing some old, feeble, fat grandpa. I mean, they're seeing jacked grandpa. Like how cool is that, right?
Yeah. I'm happy for him. He's clearly a dude who has earned everything that he has.
I have a ton of respect for him. And that to me is real victory, because versus someone who was in shape when they're younger and then let themselves go because they gave up hope, which is ultimately what it is. You give up hope, thing. Well, I'll never be as good as I once was. Why even try? And I would much rather get better with age. I mean, obviously it's not going to continue. Everybody's going to have a point where things are going to start to break down. Life is going to catch up eventually, but we want to delay that for as long as possible and live life to the fullest for as long as possible. And Mike, Paul, Richard, all these guys are prime examples of doing that.
Yeah. It's incredible how much quality out of life you can actually get once you start being proactive and taking charge. A lot of people think like, oh, after I just hit 40, it's all downhill from here. It's like, that's such a load of BS. Right? You have all these years on this planet. You can make the most out of every single one out of them if you're just proactive and don't make excuses. And just say like, I'm going to live the life that I want to live. I forget who said this to me one time, but somebody said, it's like, imagine the last page of your book. The last page of your book. What do you want it to say? Right? What do you want all the story, like all the storytelling ahead of that, right? How do you want it to look? And then just live that life. Live the life the way that you want the end of your story to look. And after hearing all that about Mike, I hope my story sounds something similar to Mike. I hope when I'm in my 60s and everything like that, I'm still doing what I'm doing. And I'm making the most out of my later years. So bravo to him.
Yeah. And this brings up another point that I wanted to address earlier as well. Like once you've made that realization, okay, you can turn things around, you can get in your best shape despite, years of neglect. If you take action, you start following a proven system, you take positive action and you're consistent, you're good enough and you're good enough consistently, and you make that change. This can also lead to another element of fear of success, because if you just realized, okay, my body was capable of so much more than I thought it was, I've made that change. Where else in my life have I shortchanged myself? Where else in my life have I limited myself? With the whole fear of success topic, a lot of times, if I play the victim, like, oh, I can't do it because, and I just don't take any action. That's easy. It's easy to play the victim. It's easy to achieve failure. You don't have to try to fail. Like you just don't do anything, you'll fail. Just comfort zone. But the minute you try and get outside that comfort zone and you start taking action, you make progress, and then you realize, wow, like I can actually do this. Once I commit myself, I can actually do this. Then it makes you realize, where else have I shortchanged myself? Like, okay, I shortchanged myself physically. Like in Mike's case, went all the way to 56. No, not in shape, not healthy. Now at 60, best shape of his life.
Yeah.
Right. It makes you wonder. And again, in his case too, like he took action and changed his career at 40. Like most people, when they're 40, like, hey, I'm settled in. Like I'm thinking of retirement, not thinking of starting a brand new career. Like it's, you're not. But he had the courage to change even that. Like he was on the trajectory of a school teacher, which he loved and he did well with. But he wanted a career change and get into, becoming a lawyer. And he did that. And he was quite successful at it. But now a lot of people are looking at it like, if I make that change, that's going to uproot my identity. Hey, I've been stuck in this deadbeat job all my life. Could I have actually achieved higher levels of success, career, financial, or I've been stuck in this deadbeat relationship. Where else in my life could I have made changes, or could I have become better if I did it with my physical body? You know, maybe I
Yeah.
could do it in other areas. And instead of using that as an excuse to hold you back and say, well, I'd rather not know and just stay in my little comfort zone bubble, why not be like Mike and just get out there and go for it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Once you level up in one aspect of your life, once you experience success in one thing, like
Hmm.
you start thinking, okay, well, how can I level up in other aspects of my life, right? Like how can I level up with my finances? How can I level up in my relationship? How can I level up in my career? And when you experience that success in anything, but like let's use working out as an example, you transform your body, you're like, okay, I've gone through the process of trusting the process and sticking to something long term and seeing long term gains in that. So now I'm going to see, okay, how can I apply these same concepts to other aspects of my life? And that's when you start noticing that it's like the lesson learned from getting into shape was the most important part.
Hmm.
Experiencing that success, and then you apply that to other aspects of your life, and before you know it, it's like, wow, everything's better. My relationships are better, my career is better, my finances are better, my relationship with my family is better, I'm more supportive. It's like you're learning how to prioritize what is actually important instead of neglecting what is important. It's like we all know like what we should be doing. We all know what would make dramatic improvements into our life, but we neglect those things for some type of reason. And then you realize once I confront these things and I actually take action towards these things, oh, my life is a million times better than it was before. How can I continue this, right? How can I create the best version of myself?
Yeah, for sure.
That's my experience, at least. You know, I got into shape and then I was like, okay, now how can I make a better career? How can I make more money? How can I do this? How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better brother, son? All these kinds of things. A friend, you know, I just feel like it puts things into perspective a lot more clear when you experience success for the first time in something like that.
Just let's talk about that. Like, how has your career changed, or other areas of your life changed? Like, can you give some specific examples? Like, since you've
Yeah.
improved physically, what other areas have you seen positive change?
Well, yeah, when I was out of shape, it was like I was almost embarrassed to be seen in a way.
Mhm.
So I would just go to work, I would just do what was necessary, and then I would disappear back into my personal life afterwards. But once I started getting into shape and everything, it was like I wasn't afraid to be seen anymore. And as a musician, you know, it's like you're constantly on stage, you're constantly being seen. Like it's like, and I'm also self-employed as well, right? So like I am the face of my business all the time. So like now it's like I'm not afraid to take on more roles. So like at work, I'm not afraid to speak up. I'm not afraid to say what's on my mind. I'm not afraid to get in front of people and talk and to be seen in that type of way. So I realized like, okay, I'm doing all the things that I was doing before, but now I'm also incorporating being in shape and being active every single day. So now I know that like I'm capable of doing more. I'm capable of prioritizing my time better. So now I'm going to take on more roles at work. And then when it came time to volunteer or to step up, it's like I'm the one that's raising my hand and being like, yeah, I can do that now. Like, yeah, I want to be that guy. I want to, and then as a result of that, you end up getting compensated more for your time, for your ambitions. Things start happening that are more rewarding. Like we're able to offer more. Like so, I'm a director at a music school, right? So once I decided that I was going to jump into that role as one of the directors at the school, and like all of a sudden now we're offering more programs at the school. There's more recitals at the school. We're out into the community more. Our student enrollment has gone up and all this stuff, right? Because I'm putting myself out there and willing to take action and to do all the things that I was doing before, but also more on top of that, right? And my career has just taken off as a result. So I'm moving to California in a few months, and I just had a job interview yesterday with a music school in Pasadena, and I'm on the phone with this guy and I'm telling him all the things that we've done in these past years. And he's reading through my resume and he's like, wow, man. He's like, it's like super impressive. All the things that you've been able to accomplish and everything. He's like, you'd be perfect here. He's like, when you get out here to Pasadena, give me a call because we'll definitely find a spot for you. That's the type of stuff, right? It's like, it looks great. It's like, okay, here's a guy who takes action, who's proactive, who doesn't want to just come in and do the bare minimum, but actually wants to come in and make a difference. And he's passionate about what he wants to do. That stuff is reflective, or is transparent, I should say, to somebody who's doing the hiring. And I accredit a lot of that to me going through the process of getting in shape and transforming my body. Because it just, the most important lesson out of all of this was like, I can do this. I am capable of doing this. I am capable of doing more. I am capable. Why not me? Why can't I go get the life that I've always wanted? Why can't I do the things that I've always wanted to do? Right? It's like, I can do all of those things. Those things are possible for me. And yeah, the process of getting into shape, transforming my body, it was paramount to all of that.
I mean, that's a testament right there. That's total fitness bodybuilding at its best, because you're building your whole body, your life, and it's the total package, right? It's not, again, people have to get outside of thinking it's, oh, you're just about the vanity. You just want to look good. You just want to have the abs or whatever. I mean, yeah, that's important, but it's all the other stuff that goes along with it, right? It's the quality of life, living life to the fullest. I mean, being confident, for one, confident in yourself, confident in your own skin, confident in your abilities, having the strength and the energy and the stamina to do this. And that projects, like, people see that, like, that comes through when you see someone who's fit and in shape. Man, if they can take care of that, what else can they take care of? Like, they have their act together, right?
It will dramatically change your life. It will dramatically change your life in all aspects of your life, like not just looking a certain way. I mean, yeah, it's nice to look a certain way, and it's nice to look in the mirror and be like, and see like all of that hard work all compound over time. Like that's all great and everything. But it's the mindset that you develop, the calloused mind that you develop from going through it day in and day out for years on end. That is the true benefit of getting into shape. So, and you're right, people notice that. People see that. They see somebody who's in shape and they're like, okay, here's somebody who's not resistant to working hard and to busting their ass, and to somebody who I want to put in charge of something, because he knows how to prioritize his time. He knows how to work hard. He has long-term vision. Like this is the guy I want working for me. Right? Not somebody who's just going to come in, put in the hours, do the bare minimum, go home. Nobody wants that. I don't want that. I want somebody who's trying to level up in their life. I want somebody who's trying to milk life for all it's worth. Not somebody who's just, going with the flow and just let life happens to them instead of them taking charge of their life.
Someone who's playing the victim, right? Just I'm the victim of circumstance instead of someone who's an action taker.
Exactly. And I don't know, just for me, like that's a personal pet peeve of mine, is when I'm surrounded by people or hear people talk about all of their misfortunes and all the bad things that have happened to them, or like, they're playing the victim. Like, to me, that I just hate hearing that, because there's always something that you can do. Yeah, life sucks sometimes, and yeah, there are things that happen and everything, and we're not all fortunate to have certain scenarios play in our favor. We're not all coming from the same privilege, but there's always something that you can do. There's always something that you can do to make your situation better. And to sit back and just complain about it and everything, it's for me, it's just like a personal pet peeve of mine. I hate hearing it. I don't know if I should be more sympathetic or whatever towards that, but like, it's just my personal pet peeve.
We can certainly have empathy for people. I mean, I know everyone has different challenges and struggles, and it's not equal opportunity. I totally get that. Like, the guys we mentioned earlier, like Richard's challenges that he went through, like, that's not equal opportunity. Like, he had a lot more challenges than the average person to deal with, but he still made it work. He still came out better than he was before. And that makes him a success. And that's the true definition of success. Like, everybody, like, what is success? And you always think, well, okay, is winning the Mr. Olympia success when it comes to bodybuilding? Or is just building your body better than it was before? Like, that's really what success is.
Yeah.
How far you go is kind of irrelevant. It's the fact that you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. I'm not saying like not be empathetic. I'm just saying, like, what can you do to make it better? instead of sitting back and just like playing the victim and just being like, oh, it's never going to be any better, so I'm just going to accept it like how it is,
or give
right?
up. Like,
Or give up.
Like even when it comes to fitness, we see this a lot is people will say, well, I tried that dieting and it didn't work for me. So, hey, I stopped going to the gym. I stopped following whatever diet it was, okay, now I'm ordering, takeaway, and I'm having Uber Eats and DoorDash.
Yeah.
They go from one extreme to the other. It's like, oh, I tried that and it didn't work, so screw it. This is something that my coach told me is like, regardless of the results in the short term, you still need to put in the proper input. And eventually the proper input is going to lead to the proper output. Okay, maybe you follow in your eating plan, maybe you're following your workout and everything else, and you're not seeing that instant change right now. But does it mean you stop putting in the effort? No, you still keep putting in the effort, and it will compound over time. I mean, it may take longer than you initially expected. There may be some other challenges that we got to work through or adjust and modify, but it's not like I did it for a week or I did it for a month and, oh, it didn't work for me and screw it. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to quit. I'm going to stop the gym. The typical New Year's resolution thing, right? People, that's it. January 1st, I'm joining the gym, working out 2 hours a day. I'm going to go on the cabbage soup diet or some ridiculous thing, or I'm going to go keto. I'm going to go fast. I'm going to do this. And they just go dive headfirst in the deep end before they can swim, and they sink. They don't swim, right? Like, whereas if you have a system in place where you're following the proper inputs, better eating habits, better lifestyle choices, better exercise habits, and you just do that consistently day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year, it's going to compound. It has to. It's inevitable. It has to compound.
Yeah. Well, I think, when you were saying before, like anybody could go online and find like a fitness routine, like something, it's like, it's more of like a behavioral thing, right? Like being coached by somebody is more about analyzing your behaviors and your mindset and everything, and taking a deep dive into that and being like, well, how can I change my behaviors? How can I change my mindset? And then having a coach, somebody who can actually kind of guide you along that way and kind of put your habits under a microscope. Like that's where you're going to start seeing the biggest changes, right? Like how do you approach certain information, right? How do you approach certain setbacks and challenges into your life? So when you have somebody who can guide you through that, instead of just telling you like, oh, you need to do a push workout, you need to do a pull workout, you can do a leg workout, right? It's like, no, let's actually deep dive into your mentality here. Like what happens when things don't go right? Right? What happens when things don't go exactly as they're planned? How can we change our daily routine, right? How can we build a routine? Maybe we don't even have a routine to begin with, right? Maybe we're just YOLOing our life away, right? How can we build discipline and daily routine and daily discipline, right? And like, how is that going to positively impact our life and positively change our life over time? That's the stuff, right? That's the things that are going to make the biggest impact into your life, not just like learning what push workouts to do or what pull workouts to do.
That's the truth right there. It's really the inner game side of things.
Yeah, that's the challenge. That's the real challenge.
This was a great conversation, Jeff. I mean, I appreciate your insights, and I love hearing your story, and because you've lived this and you've went from the whole experience of you were out of shape, you neglected your health and fitness, and you were suffering the consequences from it, but then you took action, trusted the process, and it wasn't smooth sailing. I mean, there were some ups and downs and challenges and resets along the way, but you stuck with it. And that's the key. You trusted the process, you stuck with it, and now looking back just 5 years later, I mean, people think, oh, I don't have 5 years. 5 years is too long. Right? 5 years is nothing. 5 years is going to go by in a blink of an eye, and you can look back and say, like, okay, I did this, and now I'm such a better person and better quality of life because of it. Or you can slide down the slope and be 5 years later saying, okay, I'm fatter, I'm unhealthier, I'm worse than I was, and it's just going to continue to snowball downhill versus have that positive momentum up. I just love hearing your story and hearing your insights on this because you've lived it, you've gone through it, and I mean, I want the same for other people. I mean, that's my vision for everybody who comes on board with our coaching program, and ultimately everybody who's listening to this. I mean, I want them to become a better version of themselves because of it.
Of course, yeah. No, I just wanted to share that going forward and trusting it and knowing that like if I invest in this long term, like it's going to pay off. And I truly believe that the most important things that you're ever going to do in your life are the result of persistence over the courses of years. Having that kind of long-term thinking of like, okay, what can I accomplish in 5 years, 10 years if I do this every single day? Like those are the things that pay the biggest dividends in your life. You know, it's like everything is an investment over time, and having that long-term vision and that long-term persistence is what's going to have the biggest payoffs down the road. So trusting the process, right? That you've always said that. I remember you saying that when I was going through the program, when I was going through the process of losing that 70 pounds, messaging you daily, and you just constantly just saying, like, Jeff, you just got to trust the process. Like, it's happening. It's happening. You just got to keep going and keep going. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't always easy to trust the process. So there's times you want to, like, okay, well, there's shiny things that are pointing me in different directions. I'm losing weight, but hold up, keto. You know, it's like, it's like hold up, intermittent fasting, or whatever. Trusting that was the key.
A lot of people are just trying to accumulate more knowledge. As you mentioned, they're chasing the latest fad, the red shiny object, the latest and the greatest. And they're looking for the quick fix. What's the shortcut? What's the hack? And I found through doing this for over 30 years, the true wisdom is not accumulation. It's not accumulating more hacks and tricks and shortcuts. True wisdom is very often elimination. It's eliminating all the crap and distractions that you don't need and just focusing on the few things that are actually going to make a difference for you at this stage of the game right now, based on your situation, your goals, not getting distracted with everything else. And this is something we see like in the fitness world. Somebody might be talking about a pre-contest peak week diet hack. Well, unless you're in that same situation, you're a pre-contest bodybuilder, that peak week diet hack is not going to help you if you're 50 pounds overweight. Totally different. We need to focus on like eliminating all the noise and the crap out there and focusing on what's going to work for you at this stage of the game. It comes down to like the fundamentals. Like you need to eliminate all the outside noise and just what are the key things? You can't hack your way to years of experience.
Right. Because the truth is that the road is long and the road is boring. That's just the reality of it. Any meaningful results is the results of doing the boring things longer.
That applies with fitness for sure. Because I mean, again, you look at the regular routine, going to the gym and the nutrition and the lifestyle habits. I mean, it can be considered boring, but at the same time, you can take comfort in that, knowing that it doesn't have to be overly complicated. I just have to get good at doing a few basic things over and over again and get really good at the basics. And if you can get really good at the basics, it's amazing the progress you can make. I mean, you're a testament to it. I mean, the guys in our program are a testament to it. I'm still going through it, doing my best to keep healthy and fit and motivate others to do the same along the way.
Yeah.
And it's really just, again, good enough and good enough consistently. Or another way of looking at it, we want to be consistently good versus occasionally great. The person who's just consistently good is going to outproduce the person who's occasionally great.
Yeah. I mean, there's whole industries and marketing that is based around giving you quick, fast results now, right? That's the whole thing. Like that's what's sexy. That's what people want to see is like, how can I get it now? How can I get it as fast as humanly possible? And the reality of it is that it just doesn't work that way. That's why it's not everybody can do it. And that's why if you do get into shape, that's why you're going to stand out to somebody who isn't in shape. It's because it takes long-term commitment to doing something that's just arduous and slow. Before you know it, 5 years goes by and you'll be real happy that you stick to the program and that you trusted the process instead of getting distracted along the way and being persuaded by something that was marketed to you or sold to you as quick, fast, easy, convenient, right? All of that kind of stuff. Anything that guarantees quick, fast results, be wary of it because it's probably a crock of shit.
If it's not too good to be true, it probably is. And thanks again, Jeff. This was an amazing podcast episode. I mean, I always love talking to you, and I think we covered some great topics. And look forward to chatting with you again next week.
Yeah, Lee, the feeling's mutual, man. I'm really enjoying this. So I'll see you next Tuesday, okay?
Will do. All right, take care.
All right, you too. Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the podcast, and if you know someone who could benefit from today's episode, please feel free to share it with them. I mean, if you could help us to spread the word, that's going to help to get this message out there and allow us to create more content like this and reach more people and just create that positive impact all around. And if you would like some help with your own fitness goals, maybe it's building muscle, losing fat, improving your health, getting in your best shape. If you would like some help with that, then feel free to reach out to me. I have my contact information down in the show notes below, and you can book in for a free one-on-one strategy session coaching call with me, and we can discuss a realistic action plan that's right for you. And if I feel that you're a good fit, I may invite you to come on board and join our VIP coaching program. And if it's not a good fit and I feel that I'm not the right person to help you, then I'm not going to give you hype or BS, but I will point you in the right direction to somebody who can help you. I mean, I've got a large network of people in the fitness industry, so if I don't feel that you're a good fit for our coaching program or that I can help you, I'll be able to point you in the right direction to somebody who can. So either way, at the end of your free strategy session coaching call, you'll walk away with better insights on what you need to do next in order to reach your health and fitness goals. So that clues it up for today's episode, and we'll be back again next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time with another episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast. Take care. Over and out.